Everyone we see is a reflection of Jesus. Today is an interesting day. I come to you today with something that is close to my heart. Something that I went through, that I experienced. That a lot of people know someone who is in the same position, or they have gone through it themselves, or they have lost someone. And I'm here to share with you my experiences, the knowledge that I have gained through this process. And hopefully I can help those who need it. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. This stream or podcast or video, if you will, is called My Chemical Romance. And a long time ago, I started a journey. Something that I think most teenagers do. And they get caught inside a drug scene or a circle of friends. You have fun, you explore, and there's nothing wrong with that. This particular one is called Methamphetamine or speed. And it's rather interesting. As a young kid, I did ecstasy. I think a lot of people have. But you're not addicted to it. It's an interesting one. I've done a lot of things. Never anything harmful to sort of like injections. I'll never inject anything. It's just not right. But this particular one, led me towards something with a group of friends. It comes at you and like, hey, do you want to try this? So you do. And as with everything, first time it's horrible, but you get used to it because you get hooked on the experience that you go through. But I'm not here to talk about drug use or whether it's bad or good. That's not my decision to make. I'm here to tell you about what happened when I gave it up. For you see, I always wanted to know, why is it that people who are addicts, or more importantly, methamphetamine addicts, they can't come back to reality. They seem lost to the world. They seem so dazed, so just out of it. Talking to strange figures or schizophrenia, you get diagnosed with that. What's that all about? And what is it? Why can't they come back to reality? But also, I don't know if you've ever sat and listened to someone who is like that, and if they talk to you, they know things. How do they know certain things about you if you've never met? Now, I'm no doctor or psychologist or psychiatrist. I don't claim to be. But I have first-hand experience of what it's like to be in the scene, to be on it, to be hooked on it, and then what it's like to come back to reality. Whether this is a real reality or not is another story for another time. So I'll start with the point where I wanted to know. So I started using it recreationally. You do it on the weekends. You work your Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. Then on Friday, you have fun, you do it, you stay up. One of the first things is you don't sleep. It keeps you up so long and focused and determined to do things. It just makes you want to clean and do things and get things tidy. It really does play havoc with what you do because it affects your mind. But how does it affect your mind? Like, what is it? The chemical imbalance between it. But it literally just keeps you awake all night, and you're hyped up and you're hyper and this sort of thing. But it can turn into a nasty scenario depending on your level of anxiety or fear or doubt or worry. You hear people having bad experiences taking drugs, and then you hear people who have good experiences, and I understand that it comes down to the person's mindset before they take it. You see, someone who takes something recreationally with a positive mindset will have a positive experience because that's where their thought energy is before they take it. For you see, if someone is an addict or hooked on it, they are craving it, not for the experience, but for the release that they have from society. Or it takes them away from who they are or having to deal with things. So, I stayed up a lot of time. There was things around, watching movies and playing video games and this sort of thing, and going out and drinking and doing reckless things that you do as a teenager. Those were all cool, but the late nights and, no sleep benders for like 2 or 3 nights, and then getting sleep on a Sunday, waking up and going to work and doing it all over again. And there's when you don't get sleep, you have to prioritize your time doing things, and that can range between anything from mischief to watching porn all night or playing video games or cleaning, which is most of it. But it affects your jaw as well, because you always see people chomping because they're thirsty or they don't know how to control it. But it's an interesting state, because why can't you control the way you are when on it? It's not you, it's just different. So, there are many factors along that, but that are just some things that get you through. But it starts becoming an addiction when it starts creeping into your daily life. You might be a strong-willed character and you're like, I'm only gonna do it on weekends. It's fine, I'm not addicted. But then more creeps in. I'll just have a little bit here on Monday night or Tuesday night, or it might start on a Friday or a Thursday night. And just slowly creep into the weekday because it's becoming part of your natural life, because you're getting used to that high. And that's the start of the addiction. So, that started happening to me. Now, before I started this, I had an agenda. I wanted to experience and see what it was that these characters were witnessing and could feel or witness, and why they couldn't come back from it. And I had an epiphany moment, because I myself was getting lost in it. One of the worst things is when you go and chase something. You have high expectations of it being good or being high quality. It doesn't matter what it is. And then when it gets terrible quality, and you're paying all this money and you're chasing it, and it just seems like a lost world. It seems like it's becoming too much of a drag to run around aimlessly trying to find something that That is what's called the addiction. You're spending money that you could buy for normal things like food or clothing. You're spending it on drugs and addiction. And it started becoming more of having that than it was hanging out with your friends. So you only saw your friends when you're doing that, and then that's not friendship. So I had an epiphany moment. I was watching something and something just sort of hit me and shocked me, said it's the time. Now is the time, or you lose this, or you lose yourself. And it shook me, I must admit, it really did. And I personally believe that everyone has that epiphany moment. Maybe they don't, but I believe in my heart of hearts that people get given that opportunity to say, hey, we see you, we're here to help. Whether it was angelic or my higher self, it doesn't matter. But I was told to stop. So I did. And it started my journey back. And I can tell you from the get-go, you don't realize how far you've gone until you give it up. You don't realize how deep you are or how mentally unstable you are until you give it up. Because that's when the true course of nature comes into it. But why is it so hard? Why can't you just stop it like other things? What is it that they see? How do they know? What are they talking about? Well, one of the reasons why it's hard to give up this particular drug is because when you give it up, you see things. You hear people saying things like the flies are spies for the government, or shadow people, or these sorts of things that they see. And I witnessed that. You hear people saying that there are bugs under their skin, so they scratch their skin and try to scratch it off. I saw that. But I knew it wasn't real. I knew it was something that my eyes were playing tricks on me. But how? It takes a strong mind to witness these things and not fall victim to it. In a little bit of context here for the situation is the things I saw coming back were challenging. The messages from normal day-to-day stuff, but were they affecting me? Probably. It was so heavy on my mind and my heart to keep pushing through. I started writing. I wrote down hundreds of pages of stuff of writing down about my experience through it. And just about general things I was writing non-stop. But those writings were negative. They were evil. When I reread them years later, I had to burn them. They were just filled with horror. Not nasty things, but just negative, forceful, very powerful energy, so I had to remove it. But you see, the things in the mind, they affect you to go crazy. I was sitting in a cafeteria at work and I decided to have a meat pie. But my hearing sensors seemed to be on another level, on another wavelength. And I overheard someone saying, oh, is that what they eat up there? Now, to an overall human being, it's just overhearing a conversation. You don't know what the context is. But in my mind, I thought I was an angel. And I think we all are. But it's heaven. I was heaven guided, and in my mind, I thought and I believed that I was overhearing someone saying that, is that what I eat in heaven? Is that what you're allowed to eat? Do you eat stuff? Because it affected my mind because I was listening. There were other things I thought people who I worked with were Christmas elves and Santa Claus and stuff like this, and the things I saw made reference to that. But is that because my mind was thinking it, I was creating those realities? Perhaps. It goes so much deeper because the reason why people struggle to come back or they see these things is because their mind is in another wavelength. It's in another dimension. And because methamphetamines opens your mind to a new dimension, it also opens your mind to a portal to allow other entities inside you. This is what methamphetamine does. And if you are not protected, entities can come inside you. And when those entities are there, they wreak havoc. They call like-minded souls. They try to take control of the human being. They try to get you to do the things that you don't want to do. You have conversations with this person, with these entities. Which is why when you see these methamphetamine addicts or drug users who are hooked on this stuff, they are not talking to themselves, they are talking to the entities that are either inside them or in front of them. Because their mind is stuck in a new wavelength. Is it that person that's there? Have you noticed the jawline is very similar to people who have not epilepsy but Down syndrome or these sort of things, where they can't control their body or their jaw and it's struggling to survive because those types of human beings can't survive in their body. Their brain is evolving so much, but their body cannot move with it. It's the same process because the human mind is in another dimension, another wavelength, and they can't control the jaw or the body. It's just a symptom. You see, they talk about gateway drugs, they talk about all of these things, but they are exactly that, they're a gateway. If you're not in a safe environment and you don't know about it, then this can occur. So all of these things start happening on your way back on recovery. But when you realize this, if you have another puff or another hit, whatever it is, it goes away. You don't hear those voices, you don't see those things because you're on the drug again. It's exactly what they want. So you're staying connected by removing yourself from the reality that you see. So that's why it's hard for addicts to give it up, because it's easier and it controls their mind and it quietens their mind by staying on it. Because they can't handle the situation when they give it up. And this is because when I was giving it up, I said to my dad one day, I said, I know who I am, but I don't feel like me. I know exactly and everything about me, but I don't feel like me. My dad didn't really know how to handle it because it's something that's quite shocking for parents. So he took me to see a doctor, ironically named Michael. But in the end, it took me around to different people. It took me to a psychologist, psychiatrist. None of them could help me because none of them knew what was going on. They just tried to diagnose me with bipolar or black dog syndrome. None of them had any idea exactly what was happening. And I did this alone. I came back alone. I had no help. No one understood what I was doing. No one understood what was going on. I just persevered and pushed through. Why? Because I had a mission to find out why they couldn't come back. Why is it so hard for a human being to give it up? Why is it hard for parents to witness these things and not be able to do anything for their child or their friend? You hear about it a lot with people diagnosed with schizophrenia. They are not. They are just seeing actual things, but they don't know how to comprehend it. Because when people go up to these types of human beings, they approach it in the wrong way. They ask them, how can I help you? Let me help you. Try to force it down their throat. You're a problem, or you're in trouble. Let me help you. I need to help you. That's not what they want. They know what's wrong. They don't want your help. They want you to listen to what they're seeing and believe them. This is why when you ask for help or you offer them help, most of the time they will you're not helping me. You don't want to help me. Because you don't believe. Because when your mind's in that other dimension or that different wavelength or plane of reality, you know that that person's not trying to help you out of love or way. They're just trying to help you because they don't understand. And these types of human beings are looking for understanding and believing in them that what they see is real. That's the hard part. You need to talk with them and get them to tell you what they see. Talk it out. What is it that you're hearing? What are you seeing? I'm interested. I want to know. You never say, I want to help you. Talk to me about what you see. Who are you talking to? What is their name? These are the things that are important. You don't try to fix them because they're not broken. And in most cases, I wasn't broken either. I was just looking for answers. I was looking for someone to tell me what's going on. But along the way, synchronicities were everywhere. I got stung on the leg, and there was a big bump on the leg, and I don't know what it was. And at the time I was still recovering, so my mind thought, what the hell is this? You know, you see all the little bugs, you think, okay, this is really bad, what do I do, what do I do? And you can go into crazy mode. People were saying it's a speed lump, it's what you get when you take too much speed, these sorts of things, many possibilities. But in the end, I decided to go to the hospital late one night. I think it was like 11 or 12 o'clock, to one of the after hours, because I was concerned. I went to that hospital that night, but it was quite booked. I would have had to have waited 3 hours to get in. So I refused to do it because I wasn't going to wait that long. But as I was leaving, a couple of lovely old ladies were talking, and my hearing is always heightened during these moments. And what I heard from them was bee sting. And it dawned upon me that it could be a bee sting, but because I wasn't aware of being stung, I didn't think clearly. So it really made me think, okay, it's a bee sting. I didn't think about that, because it probably could have been. But it doesn't matter if it was a speed lump or a bee sting. It's those sort of things that if you pay attention to, they can guide you in the right direction to calm your mind. There's always help there when you need it, as long as you're witnessing and focusing on the right thing. I was still concerned a little bit, so the next day at work, I was talking. I decided to go and see the hospital. I went to the hospital and got in, and they referred me to the psych ward, which I quite found hilarious. And as I entered the psych ward, they lay me down on a table and they were looking at my ankle with my swollen lump that was there. And the first things that came out of the doctor's mouth was, "Do you mind if I get 2 or 3 other doctors here?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." To them, they thought it was syphilis, some type of sexual disease. Well, at least that's what they told me. I'm like, okay. I know damn well that it's not. So whether they were telling the truth or not, I don't know. But there was 3 or 4 doctors looking at this lump on my leg. For what reason, I don't know. But something strange occurred that day, because as I was recovering, I overheard one of the other patients in the psych ward, of all places, and they said, "Is Clayton here?" And they went, "Sorry, who?" And they said, "Is Clayton here?" And they went, "We don't know who you're talking about." Now that other patient, whether he was connected or not, that really rings true to me. Because it was showing me that somehow, somewhere, connected on a different wavelength, that I was meant to be there to witness that. But to someone who is recovering, it can send them down a dark hole, because how the hell does that person know I'm here? Who is that? Is that an entity from the dark or light? There will always be those entities that are trying to push for you. As far as I'm concerned, I came to realize after that I looked deeper and deeper into it, and found out that there were entities inside me, which brings me back to me asking my dad, saying that I don't feel like me, because I wasn't. I had to remove a Japanese man who was in me, but he wanted to try sake. A specific brand of sake, I might add, so I had to look around for it, but couldn't find a close match, but found one. And I had to expel him from inside me. Another wanted to smoke a specific brand of cigarette, so I did that. Because you see, these entities came to a point where some of them were not dark or sinister, but they were attracted to me because for whatever reason I was drawing them in. Another one was released as I was drinking red wine and was able to push them out. And there were a few more. I'm sure there's another one that is around, but not now, because now I am clear. But there's always been one called Ben that keeps popping up. So this can happen. When people are not themselves, they don't look themselves. You can look them in the eye and they look lost, they're not themselves, because it's not them, it's someone else. And these entities don't come from this realm. They are not human, they are from another realm, and they know far more information than you. Not only entities from other realms, we have the capability in this one for humans to do remote witnessing or lucid dreaming, if you will, astral travel. You have the ability to do those things, so there's probably a possibility that they're able to manipulate your thoughts as well. So all of these things are occurring as you're trying to recover. You can see it takes quite a strong mind to get anywhere with this. I must admit, at the time, the cigarettes were actually helping me, because it got me to talk to people. It got me out of areas where I needed to. I have long since given that up, but at the time, that's why it kept me going. But you see, methamphetamine use and the reason why it's hard to come back is because of all of these factors. It's not as simple as drug use and it's affecting the mind. There is so much more at play here. I came back. I did it. I achieved what I wanted to, and I witnessed and heard and saw some incredible things that could only be half-truths or far-fetched to an unbeliever. But in my heart, I do not lie. And these are some truths that may be hard to believe, but are exactly what happened. It's hard to come back if you don't have the person with you supporting you, who loves you. If you're doing it on your own, it is extremely difficult, and most addicts don't have anyone apart from other addicts, and they are alone, easy targets. Well, they just don't have the strength to carry on. And a doctor doesn't have the ability to diagnose you with something that they are not aware of, so they label it as a disease of schizophrenia or any of the above. Depression, all of them, the stuff they're being trained on because they are not aware of the spiritual nature that can occur. So they put you on pills for the rest of your life and send you to rehab. And that doesn't do anything, it just masks the problem because your brain is still in that dimension. Unless you have pulled yourself out and removed entities that have possibly laid inside you. And it's almost interesting, if you look at drug users who have been in rehab too long on pills, they look lost. They look lost inside their own body because they are. It's like the effect in Lock and Key, if you've seen it. If not, a spoiler alert, but where they use the head key or the mind key. And they go inside their own mind, but in their physical form, they are almost lifeless. And if you get stuck in your head, you are there and you can't talk or do anything. Something else is controlling you. And this can be the case. They want you to forget who you are so that they can take control. So all of this happens when you're trying to give up something of this nature, which is a very powerful and addictive drug. But these are the reasons why it's hard for people to come back. Why it's hard for people to accept society again. Because if they are not ready to witness other worldly realms or dreams, their brain cannot handle what's happening. So they either recluse and go back onto the drugs, or they do self-harm, or they do other things that force them in jail, or whatever it may be. But they are not them. And what you hear and what you see is not them. And they can be healed, but you have to talk to them in a way where they want to change. Because if you're talking to the entity inside them, then you have no hope of ever getting them out. You have to talk to them. But to get to them, you have to believe them. This subject and conversation can go so much more deeper into the things that I experienced. The pain, the heartbreak, the loss of friends, When you give it up, you lose the friends who are connected to that, because that's what they do, and you're giving it up. You have to be around your friends that are also doing it at the same time, and it's just easier to just do it and give in. But I did not. I saw it through and found out many other amazing, beautiful things along the way. This is a story to tell, and it's very powerful and informative and can hit home to, let me rephrase, can hit hard to the medical industry and do great things for people trying to heal their lover or their child or someone who they think is lost to the world because of it. It doesn't have to be drug use, it can be any of those things. For the mind is a powerful thing, and it can overcome and achieve great obstacles if one has that belief. Peace and love always.